Love is not just an emotion, but a long journey full of challenges, learning, and growth. But do we really understand love, or are we just vague with ups and downs? Have you ever wondered why some women are cherished, respected, and held on to for a lifetime, while others are treated as temporary? The truth lies not in looks, status, or charm, but in something far deeper: how a woman values herself. In this world of fleeting attention and surface-level love, the woman who stands firm in her worth, sets boundaries, and chooses her partner from strength, not need, becomes unforgettable. She's the one a man doesn't just desire, he respects. If you want to become that kind of woman, these 6 powerful traits will change the way men see you forever. Welcome to the channel, Sophia's Knowledge, and my name is Sophia. This is where we explore real stories, profound lessons, and valuable experiences about love. Today, in this video, Sophia will share with you 6 things that make men appreciate you more than any other girl. If you have ever wondered about questions about love, don't skip this video. For the best experience, find a quiet place, put on your headphones and let yourself completely listen to what I am about to share. Relax, and let everything flow away. Let's find out with Sophia the secrets to help you live more fully in each relationship. Let's get started together. Point 1. You know your worth and don't seek validation. There's something undeniably powerful about a woman who walks into a room and doesn't need to be noticed to feel seen. She doesn't wait for compliments to feel beautiful, nor does she need constant attention to feel valued. She simply knows her worth, and that is exactly what makes her unforgettable. Men are naturally drawn to confidence. But not the kind that screams for attention. True confidence is quiet. It doesn't need to announce itself. It just is. A woman who knows her worth carries herself differently. She doesn't chase love. She doesn't tolerate disrespect. She doesn't settle for less than she deserves, not because she's demanding, but because she understands what it means to be whole without someone else completing her. A woman like this doesn't rely on validation to define her value. She doesn't need a man to tell her she's smart or beautiful to believe it. She's done the inner work. She's taken the time to heal, to grow, to understand herself. And that self-awareness becomes a kind of armor, a quiet, graceful strength that says, I know who I am, and I am enough. This kind of woman stands out. Not because she's loud or flashy, but because her energy is grounded. She's not easily shaken. She doesn't play games. She doesn't beg for love. She invites it, but only from those who are worthy. When a man meets a woman like this, something changes. She doesn't make him her center. She doesn't try to mold herself to fit his preferences. Instead, she continues to live her life, pursue her goals, and protect her peace. He has to rise to meet her where she is. He has to earn a place in her world, because she's already built a life that's rich and full on its own. That doesn't mean she's closed off or unemotional. On the contrary, she loves deeply, but she loves from a place of choice, not desperation. She doesn't confuse attachment with love. She understands that love is not supposed to cost her her dignity, her boundaries, or her self-respect. So she loves wisely, and she chooses partners who reflect the same level of self-worth. What men respect most about her is that she doesn't ask for approval, she inspires it. She doesn't manipulate to be chosen, she embodies qualities that make her impossible to ignore. There is no pretending. No faking. Just authenticity. And in a world full of people trying to fit in, someone who dares to be herself is magnetic. Moreover, a woman who knows her worth isn't afraid to walk away when something doesn't align with her values. She doesn't stay in relationships out of fear of being alone. She's already comfortable in solitude. She uses it to recharge, to reflect, to grow. And when she loves again, she brings a complete version of herself to the table. This self-respect sets the tone for how others treat her. It teaches people what she will and will not tolerate. It commands presence without needing to control. And for a man, that is both humbling and inspiring. It challenges him to become a better version of himself, not because she demands it, but because her very essence shows him what's possible. And here's the truth, men may be attracted to beauty, but they stay for depth. They stay for substance. They stay when they feel they're in the presence of someone who values herself so much that she won't let herself be mishandled. She becomes the kind of woman who is rare. Not because she hides, but because she refuses to lower her standards just to be accepted. A woman who knows her worth doesn't try to prove anything. She simply lives in alignment with her truth. And in doing so, she creates an environment where love can flourish, authentic, respectful, and reciprocal love. So if you want to be the woman a man truly respects and cherishes, don't try to be what he wants. Be who you are. Stand tall in your worth. Stop apologizing for your standards. Stop shrinking to make others comfortable. Trust that the right man will not only see your value, he will honor it. Because the moment you stop looking outward for validation, and start looking inward for your truth, you become the kind of woman who changes the game. And that, more than anything else, is what makes a man hold on to you like he's found something extraordinary. If you found this video helpful, please share it with your friends or family to spread the value. And if you have any questions or ideas, leave them in the comments. I'm always listening and ready to answer. Let's continue together. Point 2. You respect him but never lose yourself. Respect is the cornerstone of any meaningful relationship. But too often, women are taught that to respect a man means to put him above themselves, to silence their needs, to dim their light, to accept behavior that chips away at their dignity. True respect, however, is never about self-erasure. It's about balance. It's about honoring him without betraying yourself. When a woman respects a man in a healthy way, she supports him, encourages him, and sees his strengths even in moments of weakness. She believes in his potential and stands by him when things get hard. But she also respects herself just as fiercely. She never sacrifices her identity, her dreams, or her boundaries in the name of love. And that's where the difference lies between real respect and blind devotion. A woman who respects a man without losing herself doesn't always agree with him. She's not afraid to challenge him when his actions don't align with integrity. She speaks her truth, even when it's uncomfortable. She doesn't avoid difficult conversations just to keep the peace, because she knows that real peace requires honesty. Blind loyalty, on the other hand, tolerates too much. It accepts bad behavior, forgives disrespect without accountability, and confuses endurance with strength. But there's nothing admirable about shrinking yourself just to keep a man. A woman who truly values herself knows that respect must go both ways. In a healthy dynamic, respect is earned and sustained through consistent actions, not demanded through control or fear. She doesn't idolize him. She sees him clearly, his flaws, his fears, his human moments, and still chooses to love him. Not because she needs him to complete her, but because she believes in partnership built on mutual regard. This kind of woman is rare because she sets boundaries. She won't let love turn into self-abandonment. If he's dismissive, she doesn't beg to be heard, she asserts herself. If he disrespects her, she doesn't plead for him to change, she steps back and protects her peace. And this is exactly why men respect her deeply. Men may be used to women bending over backward to prove they're the one. But when a man meets a woman who won't tolerate disrespect, even from someone she loves, it shocks him. Not in a confrontational way, but in a powerful, grounded way. Her actions say, "I love you, but I love myself too. And I won't stay in a place where both can't exist." She's not trying to control him or change him. She simply holds him to the same standards she holds for herself. If she gives honesty, she expects honesty. If she gives loyalty, she expects the same. If she listens with compassion, she won't accept being talked over or dismissed. There's a quiet strength in a woman who knows her line. Who gives love generously but doesn't pour from an empty cup. Who supports him without losing her own path. That kind of strength builds trust, not fear. And men feel safer, more motivated, and more inspired in relationships where respect is mutual and grounded in emotional maturity. The truth is, men may chase women who flatter their ego, but they commit to women who challenge their character. A woman who dares to say, "That's not okay," in a relationship creates room for growth. She doesn't shame or belittle, she leads by example. She holds space for change, but she never sacrifices her peace in the process. What many people misunderstand is that respect doesn't mean silence. It means showing up with honesty, compassion, and courage. It means believing in his potential while also holding him accountable. It means giving him the freedom to be himself while also honoring who you are. And when a man feels that kind of respect, from a woman who truly sees him but never loses herself, he rises. He becomes better. Not because she forced him to, but because her presence inspired it. Her integrity is magnetic. Her strength is humbling. Her love is a mirror, not a mask. This kind of relationship isn't built on control, fear, or submission. It's built on truth. On two people who choose each other, not out of need, but out of deep, mutual admiration. And that admiration grows strongest when both partners feel safe enough to be authentic. So don't be afraid to be that woman. The one who respects him, supports him, encourages him, but never forgets who she is. Don't water yourself down to keep him close. Don't bite your tongue just to avoid conflict. Don't confuse loyalty with silence. You deserve a relationship where your voice is heard, your values are honored, and your presence is cherished. And the man who truly deserves you will never ask you to give up your fire to keep his flame alive. Because the woman who respects a man but never loses herself is not only powerful, she is unforgettable. If you are still watching the video, do not hesitate to comment continue. Leave your thoughts and questions below in the comment section. I look forward to hearing your opinions, and do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel so that Sophia has more motivation to create more good and meaningful videos. Let's continue together. Point 3. You have a full, independent life. One of the most captivating things about a woman is when she has her own world, a life filled with color, purpose, and passion that exists entirely separate from any man. When she wakes up excited about her goals, nurtures her interests, and lives for more than just love, she becomes someone truly magnetic. Not because she's trying to impress, but because she is whole all by herself. Men are deeply drawn to women who live fully. A woman who doesn't make a relationship the center of her identity creates a powerful sense of intrigue. She's not constantly available. She's not waiting around to be chosen. She's building, growing, creating. Her life is already full, so any man who enters must bring value, not just presence. This doesn't mean she's cold or distant. Quite the opposite, she's vibrant, warm, and open. But her energy doesn't beg to be filled. She's not using love to escape loneliness. She knows how to enjoy her own company. She thrives in her own routine. She knows what she wants out of life, and she's actively pursuing it, whether or not someone is walking beside her. And here's the powerful truth: a woman with her own life is never afraid of losing someone. She doesn't cling, she doesn't beg, and she doesn't settle for crumbs. Why? Because her world isn't empty without a man, it's already rich with meaning. She's not afraid to walk away when something no longer serves her growth. That kind of freedom makes her irresistible. When a man meets a woman like this, he feels the shift immediately. She doesn't revolve around him. She doesn't make him the sun while she orbits quietly. She has her own light, and she shines whether he's there or not. That sense of self-sufficiency challenges him to show up with more intention. Not to control her life, but to be worthy of being part of it. Her independence is not a wall, it's a foundation. It means she will never burden a man with the responsibility of making her happy. She knows that happiness is an inside job, and she's already done the work. So instead of asking him to fix her, she invites him to grow with her. She has friends, hobbies, passions. She reads books that feed her mind. She travels. She works hard at her job or her business. She sets goals and hits them. She has dreams she chases whether or not anyone understands them. She doesn't live to be someone's girlfriend or wife, she lives to become the best version of herself. That doesn't mean she's too busy for love. In fact, when she loves fully and deeply. But love becomes an addition to her life, not the entirety of it. She makes room for someone, not by erasing herself, but by integrating them into her already meaningful existence. The reason men respect and cherish women like this is simple: she values her time, her space, and her energy. She knows what drains her and what fulfills her. She's selective about who she lets into her world, not because she's arrogant, but because she's intentional. She doesn't let people in just to avoid being alone, she lets them in when they align with her spirit. And that's the difference between a woman who needs a man and a woman who chooses one. When a man knows you're not dependent on him for your joy, your self-worth, or your sense of identity, he understands that he's not being used to fill a void. He's being invited into something sacred, your life, as it already is. A full, independent life also means you're not afraid to say no. You don't cancel your plans every time he calls. You don't lose yourself in his story. You write your own. You might walk alongside him, support him, and love him, but you never disappear in the process. You remain visible, alive, and aligned with your truth. You see, women who have their own lives become muses, not because they're perfect, but because they're authentic. They live with depth. They feel with intention. They refuse to abandon themselves for anyone. That makes them not just desirable, but deeply unforgettable. Men don't want someone who needs them to survive. They want someone who chooses them, even when she doesn't have to. That choice carries power. That choice says, I already have a beautiful life, and I believe you can make it even more beautiful. Not from a place of lack, but from abundance. So if you want to be the woman he never forgets, build your life in such a way that love becomes the cherry on top, not the whole cake. Invest in yourself. Explore your passions. Set your own goals. Grow. Create. And let love find you while you're already full. Because the woman who has a life of her own is not only rare. She is the one men remember, respect, and are willing to grow for. Point 4. You know how to listen and understand his emotions. In a world where men are constantly told to be strong, silent, and stoic, there's something incredibly healing about a woman who knows how to truly listen, not just with her ears, but with her heart. A woman who creates a safe emotional space for a man is not just rare, she becomes unforgettable. Most men have been conditioned from a young age to suppress their emotions. They're taught that vulnerability is weakness, that crying is unmanly, and that expressing fear or sadness makes them less masculine. As a result, many men carry emotional wounds they never speak about. They bottle up pain, suppress stress, and hide their insecurities behind a mask of control or silence. That's why, when a man finds a woman who listens, really listens, it disarms him in the most profound way. She doesn't interrupt. She doesn't judge. She doesn't rush to fix him or offer empty advice. She simply sits with him, holds space, and allows him to be seen, not as a provider, not as a protector, but as a human being. To be heard is one thing. To be understood is another. And a woman who understands his emotions without making him feel small becomes his emotional refuge. She doesn't treat his vulnerability as weakness. She treats it as courage. She knows that behind every wall he's built, there's a history of pain he was never allowed to speak about. When he tells her he's tired, not just physically, but emotionally, she doesn't say man up. She says, tell me more. When he struggles with doubts, she doesn't shame him for not having it all figured out. She assures him that he doesn't have to carry everything alone. This level of emotional intelligence is powerful. It allows her to read between the lines. To notice when he's withdrawn, to understand the silence behind his smile, to sense when something is off even if he won't admit it. She doesn't demand answers. She invites trust. And that trust isn't built overnight. It's earned through presence, patience, and consistency. It's built when she doesn't use his vulnerable moments against him. It's solidified when he realizes he can share his deepest fears and still be held with love, not rejection. Most men are starving for this kind of connection, but few ever experience it. They often wear emotional armor, not because they want to, but because they've been taught that no one will accept what's underneath. But the woman who embraces his emotional side without trying to fix or change him becomes the exception, and eventually, the priority. This doesn't mean she becomes his therapist or loses herself in his emotional world. It means she listens with empathy while still standing in her own strength. She supports without overextending. She understands without enabling. And most importantly, she never makes his emotions about herself. When a man feels emotionally safe, he softens. He opens up. He starts showing parts of himself he normally keeps hidden. Not just the strong, capable side, but the scared, uncertain, and tender parts. And in that sharing, he connects. Deeply. Authentically. The relationship transforms. It becomes more than physical, more than surface-level compatibility. It becomes emotional intimacy, the kind that outlasts beauty, youth, and convenience. It becomes the kind of connection that builds marriages, families, and lifelong loyalty. Men may not always say it out loud, but they crave this depth. They long for someone who sees beyond their status or strength, someone who sees their soul. A woman who listens not to respond, but to understand. A woman who allows silence, who doesn't fear the pauses, who makes him feel that his emotions are not a burden but a bridge between hearts. This emotional attunement makes her irreplaceable. Because in a world that often expects men to always be okay, she is the rare presence that reminds him it's okay not to be. She gives him the freedom to feel without being judged, to break without being broken, to express without being silenced. And here's what's even more beautiful. When a man feels emotionally safe with a woman, he gives back tenfold. He becomes more attentive, more expressive, and more loyal. He starts protecting that connection as if it's sacred, because to him, it is. So, if you want to be the woman he respects, cherishes, and holds close, don't underestimate the power of emotional presence. Don't just hear his words, feel the meaning beneath them. Don't just listen to respond, listen to witness. Don't just comfort with logic, comfort with warmth. Because sometimes, what a man needs more than advice is simply this: someone who says, I see you. I hear you. And I'm not going anywhere. A woman who offers this becomes more than a partner, she becomes a safe place. And once a man finds that, he'll do whatever it takes to never lose it. Point 5. You set boundaries and never lose yourself in love. Love is a beautiful force, but without boundaries, it can become suffocating, consuming, and even self-destructive. Many women are raised to believe that love means giving endlessly, sacrificing without limits, and always putting others first. But true love, healthy, enduring love, doesn't require you to lose yourself. In fact, the more you stay grounded in who you are, the more powerful your presence becomes. A woman who knows how to set boundaries is not cold, distant, or selfish. She is wise. She understands that in order to truly love another, she must first protect her own identity. She doesn't disappear into the relationship. She doesn't become whatever the man wants her to be. She remains herself, rooted, real, and self-respecting. This kind of woman doesn't confuse attachment with love. She doesn't tolerate being treated as an afterthought or an option. She's not afraid to walk away from situations that dishonor her values. Because for her, love is not about holding on at all costs, it's about mutual respect, growth, and connection. And any love that asks her to shrink is not love worth keeping. Boundaries are not walls, they are the framework for healthy relationships. They say, this is where I end and you begin. This is how I expect to be treated. This is what I will accept, and this is what I will not. A woman who sets these standards isn't controlling, she's clear. And that clarity is both rare and refreshing. Men deeply respect women who hold firm to their boundaries. It tells them that she values herself. That she won't tolerate disrespect, manipulation, or neglect. That her love is a gift, not a guarantee. And that to be in her life is a privilege, not an entitlement. In contrast, when a woman gives endlessly without limit, she slowly erodes her own sense of self. She starts compromising on things that matter. She ignores red flags. She silences her voice just to keep the peace. Over time, she becomes resentful, drained, and disconnected, not only from the relationship but from her own identity. The truth is, no man can truly love a woman who doesn't love herself enough to say no. A woman with healthy boundaries doesn't chase, beg, or tolerate half-hearted effort. She doesn't justify poor behavior or wait endlessly for potential. She doesn't believe in fixing someone who isn't willing to fix themselves. Instead, she communicates openly. She gives chances, but never at the cost of her peace or self-respect. When she says yes, she means it. And when she says no, she honors it. Her words have weight because her actions are aligned. This consistency builds trust, not just with others, but within herself. She becomes the kind of woman who commands respect, not with anger or attitude, but with grace and firmness. And here's the key, setting boundaries doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care deeply, but you also care about yourself. It means you're willing to have difficult conversations, to disappoint others when necessary, and to protect your well-being, even if it makes you less agreeable. Men are drawn to this kind of strength. It may intimidate some, but the right man will rise to meet it. He'll see your boundaries not as rejection, but as an invitation to show up better. To love you more intentionally. To honor you in the way you deserve. When a woman maintains her individuality in love, she becomes magnetic. She doesn't rely on the relationship to define her. She continues to invest in her dreams, her friendships, her growth. She doesn't stop being who she is just because she's in love. Instead, she brings her full self to the table, and expects her partner to do the same. This balance creates a dynamic that is both passionate and grounded. Because when two whole people come together, they don't lose themselves, they amplify each other. There's space for independence and intimacy. For freedom and commitment. For personal growth and shared vision. A woman who knows how to love without losing herself becomes the heartbeat of a relationship. Her boundaries are not barriers, they're bridges to deeper understanding. They communicate, I am here with you, but I am also here with myself. I can hold space for your needs, but I won't abandon mine in the process. She doesn't need constant reassurance or attention, because she trusts herself. She doesn't fall into the trap of people-pleasing, because she's done the inner work. She knows that saying no to what drains her is a way of saying yes to her truth. And in doing so, she becomes unforgettable. So if you want to be the kind of woman who is respected, cherished, and never taken for granted, start with this. Love yourself enough to set boundaries. Speak up when something feels off. Protect your energy. Walk away when necessary. Hold space for your voice, your worth, and your life. Because the woman who knows how to love and stay true to herself is not only rare, she is the kind of woman no man wants to lose. Point 6. You stay not because you need him, but because you choose him. There is a powerful difference between staying in a relationship because you need someone, and staying because you choose them every single day. That difference is everything. It's the line that separates dependency from devotion, fear from freedom, and obligation from genuine love. A woman who stays because she chooses to, not because she's afraid to leave, radiates a different kind of energy. She doesn't cling. She doesn't settle. She's not there because she's scared of being alone, or because she needs a man to define her worth. She's there because she wants to be. Because she sees something real, meaningful, and beautiful in the connection. And because she believes in building something based on strength, not survival. This kind of woman is rare. She's done the work. She's faced her loneliness. She sat with her silence. She's rebuilt herself from broken places. And in doing so, she's discovered that she doesn't need anyone to save her. She is her own rescue. Her love is no longer born from emptiness, it comes from fullness. She gives love not to get something, but to share what's already within her. When she enters a relationship, it's not to be completed. It's to grow alongside someone who adds to her already rich life. She doesn't expect her partner to carry her emotional burdens, fill her voids, or fix her pain. She's already met herself in the dark and brought her own light. So when she loves, she does so with clarity, not confusion. This clarity is magnetic. Because most people are used to relationships built on need, on fear of loss, on emotional dependence disguised as love. But when a man meets a woman who doesn't need him, yet still chooses him, he feels something different. Something liberating. Something real. She doesn't control. She doesn't manipulate. She doesn't demand constant proof of his love. She doesn't make him the center of her universe. Instead, she welcomes him into her world, a world that existed before him and will continue to thrive whether he stays or goes. That isn't arrogance. It's self-assurance. And it invites a love that is rooted in freedom, not fear. A woman like this isn't afraid to walk away if she's not treated with respect. She doesn't stay out of habit or comfort. She doesn't let fear of starting over keep her in a place where she's undervalued. She knows her time, her love, and her presence are gifts. And she will only offer them to someone who honors them with care and consistency. That's what makes her unforgettable. Because when a man knows she doesn't need him to be whole, he realizes he has to be worthy of her continued presence. Every day becomes a choice, on both sides. And in that daily choosing, a deeper love is born. One that isn't tethered to desperation, but to devotion. One that isn't afraid of space or independence, because it's grounded in mutual respect. She doesn't stay to avoid being alone. She already knows how to be alone and still feel fulfilled. She's learned how to enjoy her own company, how to chase her own dreams, how to find peace in her own solitude. So when she shares her life with someone, it's not from a place of lack. It's from a desire to build something greater than what she already has on her own. And here's the truth. When you stay because you choose someone, not because you can't survive without them, it changes everything. You stop tolerating half-effort. You stop compromising your values. You stop settling for breadcrumbs of attention. You stop betraying yourself just to keep the relationship afloat. Because you're no longer operating from fear. You're operating from strength. This kind of love is not fragile. It's not filled with anxiety or insecurity. It's steady. It breathes. It flows. It allows room for two people to grow, not just together, but as individuals. And because she chooses him out of freedom, not dependency, her love becomes a conscious act, not a desperate plea. She can say, I don't need you, but I want you. I choose you. I choose to share this journey with you, not because I can't walk it alone, but because I believe we're better together. And when a man hears those words, he doesn't feel trapped. He feels honored. He feels inspired to rise, to show up fully, to be a man who is worthy of being chosen, not once, but over and over again. So if you want to be the woman a man never wants to lose, be the one who stays because you want to, not because you have to. Build a life so full, so rich, so complete that love becomes the complement, not the foundation. Be the kind of woman who walks beside him, not behind him. Who gives without losing. Who loves without needing. Who chooses from strength. Because in the end, the most powerful love is not the one that says, I need you to be whole. It's the one that says, I am whole, and I choose to love you anyway. Conclusion. In a world where love is often mistaken for sacrifice, and relationships become spaces where women forget who they are, it's the woman who chooses herself first, without apology, who captures a man's deepest respect. She knows her worth and doesn't seek validation. She respects him, but never at the cost of her voice. Her life is full of color, passion, and purpose, before and beyond love. She listens not to fix him, but to understand him. She sets clear boundaries, protects her peace, and never lets love cost her her identity. Most of all, she doesn't stay because she needs him, she stays because she chooses him. And that choice makes all the difference. It tells him she's not bound by fear or loneliness. She's not here to be rescued. She's not looking for a man to complete her, she already feels whole. And yet, with all her independence, strength, and self-worth, she looks at him and says, You're the one I want beside me. That's the kind of love that humbles a man. That makes him step up. That makes him fight to keep her. Because when a woman embodies these truths, she becomes the kind of woman who cannot be replaced. Not because she's perfect, but because she's real. She is grounded. She is radiant. And she is rooted in love, not fear. And when a man realizes that she doesn't need him, but still chooses him, that's when he cherishes her more than any woman he's ever known. So that concludes today's video. Thank you for taking the time to watch until the end. I hope you found some valuable lessons and that these shares will help you on your love journey. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting content in the future. I appreciate your support and I'll see you in the next videos. Wishing you love and happiness.